Greetings, everyone. Hope all of you are having an absolutely fantastic day. It's time to finally talk about Divinity Original Sin 2. For those of you who have been able to catch my live streams on Monday and Wednesday at 10 p.m. Central Standard Time, you know that I'm about 40 plus hours into this game, and we're almost finished with Act 2. That makes me comfortable with providing some impressions on the game. So this isn't a full review, it's just some of my general thoughts now that we're a good ways into the game. Let's start with some of the things that I like. I absolutely love the origin stories. So I know many of you prefer to work with a blank slate, and you feel like having a character that's somewhat pre-made takes away from the role-playing aspect of being able to play through games, but I actually love it. I think it's a fantastic way to really help flesh out a lot of what's happening in the world. So the first time I played this game when it was first released, I played as the Red Prince, who is a lizard that's essentially royalty. So he's used to having slaves and his every need being waited upon, but he made a horrible mistake and was banished from his kingdom. And basically, as you go through the game, he's trying to figure out how to adapt using only his own resources and his wits, but he's also trying to figure out how to get his kingdom back and become the person that he feels like he always should have been. Absolutely fantastic journey, really enthralling, does so much to help, again, flesh out what you're experiencing in the game world. I just don't think playing as a blank slate would provide the same level of enjoyment, for me at least. I also, when the game was first released, right after that Red Prince playthrough, I went through about half of a playthrough as Losa and going through her backstory. Really enjoyed that as well, and I feel pretty confident in saying that all of the origin stories are well done and definitely a good way for you to be able to enjoy the game. For the live playthrough we're doing, I'm playing as Thane because I've heard you understand a lot more of what's happening in the story by witnessing it from his perspective. And so I'm looking forward to getting those extra details and hopefully enjoying the game even more. Another thing that I really enjoy about this game is the music. The soundtrack for this game is just fantastic all the way through. And the soft, quieter moments is gonna just blend in naturally with what you're doing. But during fights or really momentous moments, they can absolutely bring in the heart-pounding themes, and it's just absolutely amazing and really makes me even more excited for Baldur's Gate 3. I forgot how great Larian is when it comes to the soundtrack side of gaming, and that first theme song they released for Baldur's Gate 3 is actually something I play all the time. Really looking forward to what Baldur's Gate 3's overall soundtrack is going to sound like. Another thing I really enjoy about this game is the combat. It is always a blast and a great time. So let's talk about the obvious part. There is fire everywhere every time you are fighting. And I know some people, it really annoys them. For me, actually, it's fine because I feel like that's just a signature part of this game. The fact that you're using elements all the time, that they spread around everywhere, and you've got to figure out how to adapt in order to deal with that situation. And this becomes even more important since I'm playing on Tactician difficulty, which is the hardest difficulty of the game. Obviously, all of those elements are extremely dangerous, but it just makes me play differently than I've had to play in any other similar type of game. And I love the way all the elements can interact with each other and how you can set up your party members and their overall powers to work in cohesion when you're dealing with enemies. It's really cool stuff. On that same note, because the elements work together so well, the team building aspect of this game is incredible. You can create your team as a group that either deals elemental damage or physical damage or some combination of both. But regardless, there are just 100 different ways you can put your team together and figure out how to make sure that they complement each other in combat and it is so entertaining to do. I came into this game with builds in mind for all of them. It took me a while to come up with it, and I still ended up blowing up my strategies and going into a different direction, and it didn't feel annoying or cumbersome. It just felt like part of the fun of playing this game. Really, really well done. Sticking with combat, I'm also a big fan of how Divinity Original Sin 2 handles summoning. Summoning is actually one of my favorite mechanics in RPGs. Anytime a summoner is available and I feel relatively confident it's going to be effective, I'm usually going to play as a summoner. And the fact that as you build up your summoning skill, not only does it become more powerful, but also you can infuse it with different elements. So you can change up how it fights based upon what you need for a particular combat scenario. And once you reach a certain plateau, the summon completely changes in its physical makeup and becomes significantly more powerful, which makes it feel so much more rewarding to invest in that skill. Just really, really well done. I have 2 summoners on my team right now, and it doesn't feel repetitive at all. It's just an absolute blast. And the last thing I'll say related to combat and team building is I actually love it that you can respec at will. You can't do it in Act 1 for the most part, but once you get out of Act 1, you'll get access to a mirror where you can at any point in time travel back, open up your character's menu, and rearrange points as you see fit. Which means anytime the mood strikes me and I say, you know what, I want to completely blow up how this character works and let's do this in a different way, I have the freedom to do that as long as I have enough money to buy whatever additional skills they need. Man, it feels like that provides so much freedom. I understand the developers who leave a respec option out of their game because they really want you to have to stick with whatever build choices you make, but I prefer it this way, to be completely honest with you. I prefer, hey, give me the freedom to decide that I want to fight in a different way or have my character made up in a different way for whatever reason. Let me go ahead and do that. Give me the freedom to actually play around with your systems. And the fact that it's just wide open like this for all 4 of your characters, absolutely fantastic. Really, really enjoy that. The last thing I'll mention that I really enjoyed thus far is the gift bag system. So of course, I'm playing with the final edition of Divinity Original Sin 2, and they added a gift bag feature that basically took a bunch of the popular mods that people were using and then added it directly into the game. So if you use this, I think it turns off achievements, but they've got a huge long list of all sorts of quality of life features that are really, really nice to have, especially for someone like me who's already played through the game, so I don't really care about the achievements for it. But they've got stuff like give pet pile to all of your party members, and anyone who's played through the game knows Pet Pile allows you to speak to animals, and there are a ton of animals. The conversations add a lot to the game, so if you don't have someone with Pet Pile on their character sheet, you just miss out on a ton of content, to the point a lot of people felt like Pet Pile was absolutely a must-have, and it kind of didn't make sense that they didn't just allow you to talk to animals straight up. And so it's things like this where it's just a huge quality of life increase that doesn't change really the amount of challenge in the game. And so, yeah, some of these are really, really worthwhile. We'll talk through them more when we go through the actual review. There are a couple of things that I'm not too crazy about in this game. So first and foremost, not a big fan of the cartoony art style. I absolutely understand that it fits this Divinity world very, very well, but I much more prefer the art style that's more realistic, like a Pillars of Eternity, Witcher, games of that sort. This hyper cartoony, colorful world. It's cool, it's vibrant, and of course, with all the crazy elements and magical effects happening on the screen, the cartoony style really makes that pop, but it's just not for me. It's just not for me. It's not the way that I prefer my games to look, but again, I understand it does fit this world. Another thing I'm not real hot on is the overall menu system or interface, especially when you're trying to craft things or when you're dealing with like rune enchantments. I feel like this is all clunkier than it should be, especially if you're trying to craft something that doesn't have a recipe for it. And so you have to manually pull in all the ingredients in order for you to be able to put it together. It just doesn't it just doesn't feel smooth at all. And I'm hoping in when they do a third version of this game that menu system is going to be significantly cleaner and easier to use. And then the final thing that I'll say so far I don't really like about the game, technically there is a singular villain. Like, you hear a voice, you kind of know who you're trying to face, but I'm 40 plus hours into the game and I haven't really met this person yet or had a direct interaction with this person. And for those of you who have seen my reviews before, you know I'm a big fan of that singular villain, someone that you're interfacing with on a regular basis, that you maybe face once or twice before that true final battle, to establish them as the big bad that you're trying to overcome. And Divinity, it does that to some degree, but not, I feel like it could be better. I feel like, at least at this point, it should be a little more direct, and there should have been a little more interaction between us to really establish what's happening and to make it clear who it is that I'm facing. And so that definitely hasn't happened as of yet. We'll see in the final review if I still feel the same way after everything's all said and done. And that's my thoughts thus far. Divinity Original Sin 2, absolutely classic cRPG. Really happy to be going through it and can't wait to finish it all and give you all a review. Hope all of you enjoyed this video. Take care.